recording snacks.
What it do, snackers, snackettes, and snack X's? It's your boy Gage. I'm here with Sin. Got the homie Adam in the building with us. We are expecting Jerry to join us a little later.
Yeah.
And drop his 2 cents in. 2 cents on what? On this spoiler boy.
Spoiler boys.
We got to spoil episode 10 of X-Men 97. Without saying a word about the episode, let's throw some scores on it.
Yeah.
Sin, you first. What's your score?
I'm at a 9.
Okay. Adam, what's your score?
I'm at a 9. Yeah, for sure.
I'm at an 8. I feel like I could be talked down.
Oh,
I have some issues.
I actually have an issue. My first issue of the season I have.
Oh, that's terrible for that to happen on the last episode, I think.
Yeah, it's not a backbreaking. I mean, I gave it a 9, but it is a part that I did not love.
Well, you know what? Let's just jump into that right away then. What is that?
I didn't like the Phoenix. I
didn't
like the Phoenix. Not because I don't enjoy the Phoenix, right?
Sure.
Obviously, the Phoenix is a it's the Phoenix. I love the Phoenix, and the one medium outside of the comic books that's gotten the Phoenix storyline right is the actual 90s cartoon, right? Sure. Very difficult to adapt. I get it. That's why I don't like the idea of using it as almost like a cheat
plot armor.
Yeah, like plot armor. Like it's like, okay, we needed something bigger than Bastion in this moment, right? We needed something powerful. We need to get Sinister out the way. We've written ourselves into a situation where, okay, we need to get Sinister out the way, and we need to get this. We need to depower Bastion, right?
Right.
So what better way to do it than to have the Phoenix rise from the lake? I am the Phoenix, do her thing, and they're like, oh, the Phoenix is gone now. That's my only issue.
I think it's a strong issue.
Yeah, that's my only issue. After that, the episode went great, but I did not like. I feel like Jean Grey. I feel like sometimes comic writers and even movie writers, and in this case, TV writers, sometimes sleep on how powerful Jean Grey is without the Phoenix. I don't think we need to give her the Phoenix. I feel like if you constantly giving her the Phoenix, then it undermines her actual.
It diminishes her actual strength. Yeah,
right. Which is she Omega level mutant? I can't remember. I can't remember.
I'll be honest. I would consider her an Omega level mutant without the Phoenix.
Yeah,
I don't know if she's officially. I can't remember if she's officially listed as an Omega level.
I can't remember. But
I know they didn't call her. I know that I don't recall hearing a Sentinel say like Omega level threat. She did anything.
Yes,
you know what I mean. Like they said it. They said it as far as
he just said she is.
Yeah, she's considered Omega level mutant.
Right, okay. But is that tied to the Phoenix? That's the thing. You know
yeah,
I know that her having the Phoenix puts her there. Yeah. I don't know if technically outside of having the Phoenix that necessarily puts her there. So that's
pretty damn powerful, right?
No doubt.
They've done an excellent job on this show of giving everybody a moment. Gene had a moment last week. We could, some of it was corny. Obviously, we had that whole conversation last week, but they've shown they've given everybody a moment, right? Mm-hmm. And they've shown you the level of power that each mutant has. I think probably Beast has had the least moments, but you still have Beast moments, right? And they've helped you understand that this mutant.
I actually think Wolverine has the least moments.
I agree with you. Actually, I agree with you on that. But the Wolverine moment that he had was, and Wolverine don't need a lot of moments because we know Wolverine. You're about to get a lot of Wolverine moments in a month, right? So I don't think we get Wolverine, right? Jean Grey, they've done a good job of helping you. Just last week, she went toe-to-toe with Sinister. They showed you how powerful Jean Grey is. I don't think she needed the Phoenix Force. Maybe she needed to take the DNA out of Sinister, how she, the way she did.
Yeah.
But I feel like there was another way to get Sinister out of the way, and there was another way to lock up Bastion and do all the stuff she did. I feel like Jean's power. can do that. I just didn't love the idea of like, that she has this automatic cheat code because from my understanding, that's not how the Phoenix works. And that's something she could just summon in any moment. Is that what y'all got from that? That she just summoned it, or maybe it's her stress. The stress called it up or something like that.
I wouldn't really think. It felt odd because it came out of nowhere. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure if it was from stress or she summoned, but I do agree. Like it felt wrong in that moment.
Yeah.
To me, like I said, it felt like plot armor. Like, oh, okay, she needs to do that in order to get past this.
Yeah, we got to wrap this part up.
Yeah.
Look, I think what you're talking about is a much larger issue. Mm-hmm. I think it's a lot more about what the actual issue I have with this show as a whole is.
Okay.
So I think, unfortunately, the show is too short.
I would agree with that.
We are used to having, generally speaking, right, a season of television, a season of like Saturday morning animated television is 13 to 26 episodes. Mm-hmm. 26 episodes.
Yeah.
We got 10.
Yeah.
Now they were an hour long. So I'm not, you know what I mean? They were close to an hour, give or take, right? So like maybe you could say all in all it's 20 episodes, right? That's still short to you, like 6 episodes.
Yeah.
If you go back and you look at having an episode every Saturday morning for weeks running, you are telling these stories over a much longer period of time. Yes, you only have 22 minutes to do it, but you're telling these stories over a much longer period of time. And you actually do have more time to get into some of the things that I feel like a lot of things were cut short. Yeah. I feel like there were a lot of sequences that probably were intended to be longer, probably were written or even storyboarded longer. And that's the thing that Jerry could talk about that. Like we know that stuff gets cut. That happens in everything, right?
Yeah.
But you're also talking about, like, we've complained a lot, but then had forgiveness in our hearts for taking a storyline that runs over months or a year in X-Men comics and trying to shrink that down into an hour and a half movie, right? Doing a 26 episode animated season allows you a lot more time to deal with that, right? To kind of put things in place, to set up the pins and knock the pins down, right? Not just do that, but set up the pins, bowl the ball, watch it roll down the lanes, see the curve come in, predict whether you're going to have a strike, whether you're getting, whether you splitting, or whatever. And then even have time to come back and follow up to try to get the spare, or or whatever it is. Like, usually you get much more time to do that. And 10-hour-long episodes, as good as what we got was, I think that the season overall, I think the season suffered.
Yeah.
Huh?
It's a 30-minute long episodes.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. Yeah. So 30-minute long episodes. Again, you're getting a few extra minutes.
Yeah.
Compared to a 22 minutes with commercials or whatever, which is what we were used to getting. So when you do that and you're only getting 10 episodes, and look, I don't know that you could maintain people's interest over 26 episodes in streaming. I just think there's too much other stuff going on. There's too much other stuff to come out.
Yeah.
So I think, generally we've gotten from Marvel shows, we've gotten 6 or 8 episodes.
Yeah, this is probably one of the longer running seasons. Yeah.
Right. And I think we're seeing that more and more with streaming, where they do about 8 episodes, somewhere between 8 and 10.
As a Game of Thrones fan, House of Dragons gone down from 10 episodes to 8 this season, and then the new Game of Thrones show, The Hedge Knight, is only going to be 6 episodes.
It's just it's a lot more difficult. Now, again, if you're talking about, we got excited when we go from MCU doing these movies that are 2 hours to getting a show that's 6 episodes that are about an hour long. You're getting a lot more time to develop that story and to tell that story and whatever. But when you're talking about animation and comparing it to what we're used to, you know, Storm being without her powers feels to me like it should have taken a little bit longer. Like it's gone, and then it's a couple of episodes, and then it's back, right? And then like the Madeline Pryor joint, dog, you're talking about months and months and months of storytelling that they wrap up in like an episode, bruh. You know what I mean? Like she's here and then she's just gone, and all of a sudden we're in episode 10, and Jean's just like, me and Madeline, we're besties, and we're together on this one, fighting Sinister together for the, you know what I mean? And like, it's not that it doesn't feel good, you know, or whatever, but I think part of what that is that like Phoenix just kind of came out of nowhere. I don't feel like that was the intent.
No.
I feel like it feels like that because like we should have like another 16 episodes to go. You know what I'm saying? Like we should, you know, so I think that's part of the problem with the overall show. For this episode, you know, I got a couple things, man. Maybe nothing that stands out quite as much as that Porsche. That Porsche, you know what I'm saying? Seeing in the last joint, but that joint messed me up. You know, but again, this episode for me, it felt like we just so quickly went from we're on the ship, you know, like we're backing Magneto and we're fighting each other, to everybody being on the same side just happened so fast. And I get it. Something traumatic happened. You know what I'm saying? Or whatever. So I get it. Well, I mean, I guess Magneto's dead now, so we're not doing this. So let's just like everybody, all right, well, we all gotta get off. You know what I mean? I guess, you know what I mean? Like I don't, you know, and then also like Bastion is like, for all intents and purposes, Bastion is corny. Bastion was like a very corny run in the comics. Like it just kind of felt like throwing things together to make a thing that we need a super powerful enemy, so let's do a thing. And I feel like in this they did a good job of making Bastion feel threatening. But like, I don't know. I feel like I was happy when they defeated him the first time. And then like like it honestly, it felt like a video game to me. Like how you have that moment in a video game where you're fighting a boss and you beat the boss, and then the joint gets back up and his power bar go back out. And I was like, what is this?
I agree 1,000%. I agree 1,000%. Because in that moment, I was like, "What? Are we anime now? Like, okay, my man had a whole nother power up hidden.
Yeah,
he got wings now. Like, okay,
but we kind of are anime now. Let's just be real. That like the influence has definitely had his chance to sink his teeth into what this is since the original show, you know what I'm saying, had its run. And so that whole just like I got the strength of everything and I'm about to just rip your arm off and beat you with it cable is like, I mean, all right, and I'm just gonna sprout wings and I could do whatever I want. Like it just it very much gets, again, this entire episode is plot armor. It just is. So like I can't really pick one thing and just be like the Phoenix joint. For me personally, like the Phoenix joint, that's too much plot armor. I mean, Bastion getting back up, plot armor. I mean, them showing up in a Sentinel and him being like, welcome to feeling what my, you didn't know that Sentinel wasn't on, bro. I thought you could feel all.
No, he can't. He can't. To that, he can't, because they took the thing they put on his head caused him not be able to feel the what you call it.
But he said it like he sensed the joint. He was like making a speech, like the second coming is coming because here comes my thing. And then he looked up and it's almost like, Beast, you're in there? Like it was just so like it was like bro.
Food again.
Yeah, like just again, moments I wanted to see. I wanted to see Jubilee get hers. I wanted to see her kind of take her powers to the next level, like she learned or saw,
that was clean.
You know, a little earlier. Like I wanted to see Sunspot have a moment. I was very happy to see that side of the moon, like that whole like that whole thing.
Them
that
fighting as a team was really dope. The music when things started with the orchestra singing the X-Men. But I will two things. I think I'm definitely, unlike last week, I don't disagree with you, right?
Okay.
The Porsche thing just did not bother me, but I'm with you, right? I don't want to get about the Porsche. But penultimate episodes are always the best episodes for a reason, right? In my opinion. Sure. It is always the last episode of a season, especially the last episode of a series, is always a little underwhelming for me. I'm not going to speak for the general audience, right? Because they're usually just cleanup work, ending a story that you've been building up the whole time, and then leading you, if it's the last episode of a season, a lot of it is built up, is set up to lead you into what's going to happen next season. So it's got a lot of jobs to do. So I will be very honest. I didn't come into this one with a lot of high expectations either, because I've seen enough last episodes of seasons to be like, you know what, I know what this is, right? So even some of the things you're talking about, I feel like some of it will be addressed next season. Some of it will be, we'll see. This is me just, this isn't what I know, obviously.
Right.
This is what I feel, right? But I will agree with you that you know, the point of the episode was, okay, we've been leading up, we've been building this villain up, and this is an opportunity. A lot of this show, I think what the show did very well was balance fan service, because there's a lot of fan service in the show. With emotion, right? And real storytelling. This episode, I felt like was like, you know what? Let's show the X-Men. We've been giving them individual moments. Now they're going to fight as a team, and we're going to put a lot of energy into getting them to the point where they all get back together and they fight as a team. And you're going to see those things that people think the X-Men are cool about. And so in order for that to happen, we're going to make the villain, as you all say, a bit overpowered. He takes Cable's arm. He uses the techno-organic thing to sprout wings. He gets into the onto the asteroid, and whatever the little energy thing is, he puts his hand in that. Now he can shoot lasers. You know what I'm saying? So I think they just really, like you said, plot armor. I'm not disagreeing with plot armor at all. I don't even see it, honestly, besides the Phoenix thing. I don't even see it as a disrespect. I think it was definitely plot armor, because the whole point was, for a good portion of the episode, was we need to have our big fight. And how do we, they can fight Sentinels again, sure. But what do we give them? A big villain that's overpowered. So each one of them has to go toe to toe with this man and display the ultimate version of their power.
Yeah. I mean, look, I'm again, I think that trying to the show itself is complicated.
Yeah.
Because you are continuing a show that already has a lore, right? And so there is a little bit of a cheat when you got to go to Twitter, see what Bo DeMaio is telling you your homework for this next episode is, or you got to go back and watch season 1, episode 3, this title, right? So that you're ready for what's happening in this one. And while I have a lot of respect for the fact that it's like, I guess if you were watching it all in succession, you might still have a lot of that fresh, you know what I'm saying, in your head, you know, whatever. Right. So I understand that you're trying to take a show, you're trying to modernize an animated show that is from 30 years ago. Right. And still do it as a continuation from something that's that old, right? And the expectation of people remembering, the expectation of people, because we've seen so much, not just in animation, but in live action. Right. But like the expectations of people is higher. And if you are a person who does remember watching that show and you were into it and you have fond memories of it, you got to be able to touch those nostalgia points. But you still got to be able to do something new and important enough that it feels like it strikes a chord with people who have never seen that and aren't gonna take the time to go back and watch it. Right. So, and again, doing that within 10 episodes, it's hard. You know what I mean? It's harder. So I'm overall, I'm extremely happy with the show as itself. As an episode, I think that this episode does a good job of doing the best it can to put the cat back in the bag, to like you know what I'm saying, to put the top back on everything, to kind of satisfy any kind of left open questions or concerns about what's going on with this person, what's happening with so and so, with the exception of like Wolverine, technically.
Which is clearly going to be a story going into next season.
Right. Yeah. At least you feel that way until they disappear at the end of the joint. You're like, hold tight, what's going on?
Yeah, you only know where them two are.
I think the action was cool. I love letting Cyclops just be X-Men versus Street Fighter.
Yeah, buddy.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
double circles,
cool
all 3 punch buttons. Like,
you
better just go ahead, peel it off, and you know what I'm saying, let them have it. Like, I love that. You know, I don't really care about the whole Jean and Scott and Cable thing. That joint just kind of felt forced and felt rushed to me. Like, I love you, son. Like, you don't know him. He don't know you. You don't know him. So, like, I don't know. It just kind of felt rushed. It felt kind of corny. But then, I think that the important piece of that moment was Jean holding back his optic blast.
Yeah.
So that Cable could see his father's eyes, even though he can't really see him because they're covered in blue because it's an astral projection and not a real projection. So it's like you're showing his eyes, but you're not showing his eyes. But I think the important piece of that was that previously, the only time she was able to do that, had the power to do that, was using the Phoenix.
Yeah.
When she had the Phoenix in her, you even listen to him talk about that earlier in the show, in this season. He talks about how falling in love with her when she had that power, like kind of actually wanting her to keep the Phoenix, she was able to use that power to hold back his optics blast and look into his eyes and tell him that his eyes were beautiful or whatever, right? And that is part of what made him fall in love with her.
Yeah.
In this case, she's able to do it technically without the Phoenix. She just used up the Phoenix Force, and it's there. They slapped us with a bunch of cameos. You got, man, Iron Man looking like garbage in that 90s armor, dog.
See, you jumped there. I wanted to tell you, bro. You mentioned it. We mentioned it last week, and we were technically right. You said all the Avengers coming, and we thought, sure, why not? Technically, you had them. I love, you know, you said a lot that I want to address just the eyes, that and then the cameos, if you don't mind, because I think that I thought that what this show, again, I'm a huge fan of this show, right? And and it warms my heart to see the X-Men done right, and I think a lot of people are just happy with that too, to be honest with you, right? And that's cool. That doesn't mean that they won't have to, you know, that feeling won't be there next season. Next season is going to be like, all right, now the story's got to be tight. But you know, not saying that they weren't all the way tight this year, but like next year, you're not going to have. It's like when Black Panther 2 comes out. Like I always, if Chadwick would have never passed away, I always said Black Panther 2 isn't going to have the same like excitement that Black Panther 1 had, because we were just excited for Black Panther. Okay, so cool. What this show did very well all season was have moments like that. This and the Xavier moment with, I know we're going to get to later, with Magneto and all that. All those were like, those are those like heart-wrenching moments that like you got one of them like every episode, and that's not an easy thing to do.
No, not at all.
I also, just to stick on that point really quickly, that isolated the Cable, Jean, Scott thing isolated. If they would have just ended it there, I would have 100% agree with you that like, yeah, they kind of rushed through the whole case. But when we see where it's going and the comic book run is touching on, that's what I mean by they could continue some of these stories next season. So I feel you there. When it comes to the cameos, again, this episode was a fan service episode. It was literally cameo after cameo after cameo after cameo. And for real, they probably, to your point about longer episodes, if they, you know, they probably had a lot more in the duck that they really wanted to show you.
Yeah.
They just had to try to fit it into a 30-minute episode. I mean, you got Cloak and Dagger in there,
bro. That probably actually made me the most excited. Was seeing Cloak and Dagger show up to back up Daredevil. You know what I'm saying? Out here in these streets, I'm like, all right, all right, y'all playing around, don't play around.
I
was with it.
Yeah, Daredevil was super cool for me. It makes me actually
Yo,
excited.
did you see that they confirmed that this Spider-Man is the 90s Fox show Spider-Man?
So go for it. I know you. So
don't play with me, dog.
It's supposedly tied up like a big like what is it, like the way the series ended in 94 or whatever, like that,
like a plot thread, like a
yeah. Him looking for Mary Jane.
Yeah, and so since he was with her, and this apparently he ended up finding her like sometime after that or whatever.
Yeah, because you see Peter and Mary Jane watching the TV. I said, hold on now, y'all doing too much now.
yeah.
Hell out here.
Yeah.
I said that is my Mary Jane. That's my Mary Jane down to the out. Like that's the joint. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
All of that, man. Look,
T'Challa or T'Chaka.
Yep.
T'Chaka.
Yeah.
T'Chaka.
Now, that is to your point about being a slave to the canon of a 30-year-old show. I guess they clearly aren't ready to show as a company T'Challa yet. I don't know why you can't show him in the cartoon, but I guess it's again whatever. Because T'Challa was in the original X-Men, but whatever. That's not something I'm about to be, bang my head against the wall over. I just thought it was interesting, but you get Black Panther, you get the Dora Milaje in the 97 X-Men. Yeah, I mean all the whole Wakanda. I thought all that, I mean
my man Black Panther had the cape on, dog.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Terrible.
Watch the scratch window up if you want. I'm about to jump out here and get it. Whatever. This what's up.
Yeah.
The cameos were all cool as hell. Like again, that fan service, roller coaster ride, not thinking no plot, whatever. It's just damn, they go Black Panther, they go 90s Iron Man. He only took his mask off in the White House, which is funny. They're full armor in the White House.
Everybody know who I am.
Yeah.
I mean, look, these Magneto protocols. Let's just talk about some of what actually happened, right?
Yeah.
Because we ended the last episode and Wolverine is
SpaghettiOs.
Dire straits. You know what I mean? And when this episode starts, it really did make me wonder, like, all right, what are we gonna do?
Yeah.
Like, again, we don't have, like we did in the comic books, Jean Grey right there to like hold his body together or whatever. So he just was like, yeah, we did it and he's good because we know he got healing factor and whatever. And we just going, all right, cool. I'm not even cool. You know what I mean? Like I can't because even though that's a super duper major event, we got bigger fish to fry.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like we gotta deal with this whole Xavier Magneto thing. They're in this kind of stasis, like what's happening, and you get them back in their old lab coats, talking amongst each other in the bar, kind of just like, and it's like clearly they're in Magneto's head.
Yeah.
Xavier's kind of trying to talk him down. He didn't look, man, don't make me do this because I don't really want to do it, but I'll do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he's like, what you did to Logan. He was like, man, he meant to kill me.
Yeah.
Of course he did.
Yeah.
Of course he did. You meant to kill everybody. So he meant to kill you.
Yeah, he probably told him, like, I'm about to kill you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll be honest, I'm not sure why Magneto survived it. We don't touch on that. Doesn't really matter. Yeah, I just don't know. Like I don't know. Like he just the whole mind thing. Nah, dog. You just had 3 of the longest blades.
You just got disemboweled,
straight skewered.
Yeah.
I don't
magnetic forces holding his lungs and shit together. I guess
something. Keeping his blood flowing. His iron in your blood.
I mean, I appreciate that they showing that he's hurt. You know what I mean? But while he's alive, that's a great point. I hope that's something that they address next season.
They not, but and it's cool. For real, it's cool. They're not, and it's cool. And, like we've seen a lot of like what the Magneto like story is. We've seen a lot of that. We know about him and the professor. I don't think this is really doing anything new. I also kind of feel like it didn't really need to drag on as long as it did.
I'm kind of glad you said that because that was the one thing I didn't care about the episode about. Like I was watching, like I know this already. Like let's just get through it. Like retelling Spider-Man's origin story or Batman's origin story or Superman. Like we've seen it done, we've heard it done so many times. I don't need this. I get it, but I got it for the story. He's got to talk to him, convince him to come back, yada yada yada. But yeah, that was the one part I was like kind of like over with the episode.
You know, it is a little strange because I mean, I like that you brought up the Spider-Man thing. I do think there's a difference. I do think everybody knows Spider-Man origin story. Like everybody knows that joint. It's been told 7 or 8 times like over the last 20 years.
He's the second most popular superhero.
Or second
or third.
You
For you, he's the first. You look.
No, period. He's the first.
Okay.
I won't even like.
He's more popular. Well, you know what? I ain't gonna do this. Let's not do this. Adam, back there. Back down, Adam.
I know. I really do. I think everybody knows.
No, everybody definitely knows.
Do I think everybody knows Magneto's origin story? No. So it wasn't for us. It definitely wasn't for us.
Right.
The whole death camp thing, that he was Jewish, like a lot of that's even just being kind of like subtly hinted at. I think so we don't have to go through so much of it.
And in fairness, it has not been addressed in the cartoon. In fact, his name wasn't even Eric when the cartoon was coming. That's why he's been called Magnus.
Magnus.
The Magneto origin story
came out
later. So for the cartoon, though we didn't need it, even though I'll share my thoughts on it later, but for the cartoon, it had not been addressed. I'm not even sure if they even addressed the they hadn't have. He was just Magnus in the cartoon.
Well, when you look at the Magneto protocols, you know, he had a bunch of aliases.
Yo, did you peep it?
I did peep it. That he had Michael Fassbender's name as an alias, and that he had what's his name to play him? Yeah, Ian McKellen as an alias.
Yeah.
In the joint. Yeah, I saw that. You know, look, here's the thing. The only reason why I like that they did dwell on it is because I just like Magneto so much as an antagonist, not necessarily as a villain.
Yeah,
because so often he's not a villain, and I do think that there is a very important difference between an antagonist and a villain.
Yeah, we talked about this last week.
We did. So I think kind of helping to get to a certain level of understanding of within this season, the bond that exists already between Xavier and Magneto, because you haven't really seen them on screen together at all in this season, and kind of getting into his mind and knowing what's going on. It definitely felt like they were immediately going into onslaught. They're like, oh, you're gonna lose his mind, blah blah, you know, all that. Trying to kind of convince him to like, yo, do this yourself so I don't have to do it. And then like being like, nah, dog, you're gonna have to. You know what I mean? And so that's what I mean. I gotta give kudos to the professor. Being like, all right, dog, force my hand.
Yeah,
so you know what I'm saying? I gotta do what I gotta do. And he does it. And you know, again, they're trying to do what they need to do down on Earth to make sure that that connection is severed between Bastion and all the rest of these. I'm gonna call them people, but you know, and when he sets it back off, like they're not in position to do that. Like the X-Men are captured, they roped up Sentinels. I don't know why they're not dead. It's, you know, it's stuff like that. Just be like, you know how like that's a villain. My man just is going to have a monologue.
Yeah, they're arrogant. Villains are arrogant. Yeah.
So he gonna monologue. I think the best villains just get the job done. They're the ones I like the most.
Yeah.
They're the ones I like the most.
Yeah.
They just go in and they do it.
Yeah.
He's got to tell you what he gonna do to you, why he gonna do it, all the suffering, all the, you know, like, and they all gotta hear it. And if somebody gonna back talk, he gonna put them in their place.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Throwing stuff at Beast and putting his hands on Storm.
Yeah.
My man Ford just like, if you don't you dare.
Throw their hands over. Yeah. No, I going to the Magneto Xavier thing, I do understand where y'all coming from in terms of we've seen it before. But I will say, the movies always did a great job at the Xavier Magneto relationship. Yeah. So I never really get tired of that. I don't necessarily think we need to have whole storylines based around them all the time. And I'm glad they're introducing who they're introducing in the next season. But that relationship is important. And it is cool to see it done in a different way in different mediums. You know what I mean? Like I didn't mind. I enjoyed it actually. Again, it kind of adds the heart to the story for me. Also, I think it's a payoff of something that happened when we first saw Xavier this season, when he was when he was abroad. And he talked about Magnus. I wish to see my friend Magnus again. I wish to speak to him. This and another. So to me, it wasn't the most important. Like if they never addressed it again, I'm like, they never fulfilled that plot of Xavier talking to. But I'm glad they kind of like, revisited the idea that, this man at the end of the day is my friend. I still believe in him. And I feel like we still need him, even if the world doesn't, even if my X-Men don't. I know what he can do. So I didn't mind it at all. And again, the cool Easter egg, seeing Wanda and Pietro and what's her name?
Polaris, dog.
Yeah, seeing them, that was cool.
So
I like
clean.
Polaris a lot. Like it's just I thought that was cool. And again, when you got a meteor falling to the earth, it's it's one person that can kind of prevent that in that particular situation. You know what I mean? You're not calling Franklin Richards up, anybody like that. You're calling in that particular moment is only Magneto. So I get they did a good job to me, like helping that make sense. Why are we even doing this? Well, because you need him, like Sen said, you need him for this situation. They just added the drama to it, which added to that last sequence. Well, it wasn't the last sequence, but that last action sequence of Scott showing his eyes to Cable, them going on a suicide mission, the music, like you needed that whole back and forth thing. Remind me of some of the best parts of the Christopher Nolan movie when things are moving really fast, a lot of things happening at the same time. So I thought it was actually well directed.
It felt like the end of Mass Effect 2 to me. When you about to just go on that suicide mission and you just like, it's like, all right, we gotta stop the Reapers. It's a suicide run. We're gonna try to keep everybody alive, but I don't know, it might not be looking good. And I'm just telling you, dog, when they get down to it and it's time to haul off, when Rogue, boy, listen.
Loved every second of that.
Oh yeah,
she was on Bastion's ass the second he showed up.
His name
she
was
did not
Gambit.
wait for
Remember it.
Remember it. And was just serving blessings to my man.
Yeah, and then hit him with the. And I always tell you, I love watching the show with my wife. Okay, because she's not familiar with everything. So when she did the clap, she loves the Incredible Hulk, right? She loves Hulk. When she did the clap, she's like, "Wait a minute, she can do the clap."
Hey, look.
And I'm like, yeah.
Facts.
Rogue is powerful, man. Yeah,
my man, face off.
Yeah,
he threw that thing out there, man.
Yeah,
man. Like I like that they just, look, it's real easy again to get caught up in the like, dog. Is she breathing in space right now? Because I'm not positive that I knew she could do that.
Hey, straight up.
You know what I'm saying? Like, hold on.
It went through my head. Yeah, it went through my head, but I was like, Rogue's having a moment now. I gotta just enjoy this for what it is right now.
Like, there's one part with Jubilee when she gets thrown out of the thing and my man has to go get her. And they sit for a second. I'm like, y'all in space. And then Cyclops says, hey, get back down on Earth. Go down to Earth. And I'm like, okay, she wants to travel through the all right.
She just ain't burned up. Like, I don't listen. All right, here's the thing, right? Rogue beat that man to the moon, bro. And she beat that man to the moon, bro.
Yeah.
And
to the blue part of the moon where you can breathe, right? Yeah.
Right, exactly. And that's the thing. She beat him to the blue part of the moon where there is actual oxygen. Like in the lore of the comics, you can breathe there.
Yeah.
And you know what? That's how you do it.
Oh,
that's how you do it. If you're gonna do it, that's how you do it.
Yeah, I agree with you.
At first, I said, man, look, I know she took the breath of all breaths.
Yeah.
Before she went out there and just mollywopped him.
Yeah.
Because if I'm him, all I'm trying to do is throw them into space.
Yeah, really, that's the goal. All in space now, you're done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, they. I mean,
he
you know,
realized the road was gonna be on his ass on the jump though.
Listen, I mean, I feel like, you know, look, he's arrogant. That's what you just said, Adam, right? Like his whole thing, like he looked at them on the planet, was like, I'm about to go up there and bring this whole joint down on y'all. You know what I'm saying? I'm about to go have an Ultron moment.
Yeah. Yo, that's what it reminded me of.
Yeah,
I'm so happy you just said that. That you just a light bulb. It reminded me of Ultron and What If.
Now I want to watch the movie.
No, it reminded me of Ultron general, but like Ultron, I remember Ultron and What If was so cool. Even his design, even the way he looked, kind of reminded me of the way he talked reminded me of What If Ultron.
I'm gonna tell you what, man. Ultron, I still think is the most charismatic villain the MCU had. Period.
Most charismatic, more than Loki. Well, I guess you don't consider Loki a villain anymore.
I mean, I do consider Loki a villain, but I think when Loki was a villain, he was annoying. He wasn't charismatic. I don't think Loki was charismatic at all.
Anytime Spader is playing anybody,
I'm gonna say James Spader. That voice,
he just.
I don't like that movie, but I do think he was a charismatic.
Let me tell you something. Watch that joint again.
I've watched it. Yeah, I'll watch it tonight. For you, I'll watch it tonight.
Watch that joint again. That movie is so good. Ultron is underrated, especially like knowing what you know now.
Ultron was
that dope. Joint.
The movie.
I'm saying no. The movie Age of Ultron, completely underrated, bro. Like
I'll watch it.
You go back and watch that joint with WandaVision eyeballs on. And like what happens to Tony eyeballs on, and like Tony having like the touch with the pre-recognition. Dog, watch that joint again. Like that joint, bro.
Y'all about to have me throw it on up in here.
Right.
I want you to know that joint gets, and like Ultron is so menacing, so threatening, so yo, he's so good, dog. Like him in Wakanda stealing vibranium, like it's so good. It's so good, dog.
I liked Ultron in the movie. I have watched it since WandaVision and all of that, but I'll do it again for you. I like Ultron, but I also remember thinking, what if Ultron? I remember thinking like, hey,
what up,
I exist. Yo, these LA streets be out here, man.
Yeah, man.
You know what I'm saying? They don't want to let you get home. They don't want to let you make it.
I got you, bro. I got you.
You're not.
Welcome to the show. Man. You know what I'm saying? Listen, we were talking about Asteroid M, and it reminded us of Ultron, and Ultron basically dropping a bomb on the planet.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
basically. You know, look. Again, the Magneto protocols. What you gonna do? You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I can appreciate that T'Chaka was like the person, I guess, besides Cap, who was like, I don't think this is what we should do. I don't think this is what we should. I don't think that's right.
Here's the thing about this, right? Like, you know, Wakanda. I feel like they were where I want them to be, where I sort of expect Wakanda to be in a situation like this. They was like, y'all sound messed up. This is bad. Yeah, they said that. Captain America got a lot to answer for.
Of course.
So much. So much.
But he also was like, I don't think we should do this. But of course, he's a Cyclops. He's a soldier boy.
Yeah.
Stars and stripes.
Following orders.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And even in that moment, he's like, I don't think so. You know who didn't say anything? Tony Stark.
Yeah.
Iron Man didn't say anything.
Not a word. He said, "Yeah, let's do it. What are you waiting for?"
My name is on those rockets. I get paid.
Yeah, I'm about to say, it's very
fly.
Tony. It's very Tony like to be like cool with taking that down and doing your thing for sure. I would like to have seen Tony talk in the episode, but I guess it wasn't. It's not it's not like
in the budget. It went in the
whatever.
budget.
You know what I mean? But yeah, man. No, going back to what you were saying about Asteroid M and knocking my man all the way to the blue side of the moon, right?
Yes.
Again, what I like and what I hope happens, and what the MCU has done well, just in general, even though this isn't the MCU, but what the MCU has done that, like, say, Fox and the older comic book movies either couldn't do because of rights or wouldn't do because they just wanted to rewrite things. And this goes for DC, Marvel, whatever. You need to take advantage of all of the cool, nerdy things at your fingertips, right? Like, who's thinking about the blue side of the moon? Like, but when you see it, you're like, I remember that there's a spot set up on the moon, because you have that, because you have it at your expense in this larger universe of Marvel. You know what I mean? And again, the MCU did a great job of doing it throughout their run. It's just cool to see it done in this. Because again, I'm only talking about the older 2000s movies when they were kind of like, nobody wants to see that. Or maybe they couldn't, honestly, and sometimes they just couldn't because of where certain rights were, who had a right to this, who had a right to that. Famously,
I think a lot of it
trade to get Pietro and Wanda. So
that whole run, like what Bryan Singer was trying to do in terms of trying to like do the X-Men and be as true to it as he could be without making it feel like a comic book. Because I honestly believe that they believed that if they made it feel too much like a comic book, it just wasn't going to work in live action.
And that was in vogue at the time.
Sure.
Everybody wanted grounded and really the Batman movies. Did I have the debate? Was that? I think I debated you about the Dark Knight, right?
Probably
right. But
you remember losing it?
No, I don't remember losing it at all.
You might not have.
Yeah, no,
you might not have had that. You might not have had that debate with me if you didn't lose. That's all I'm saying.
But no, those Batman movies, the whole thing about them was, what if Batman existed in the real world? How do we make everything make sense? And that's, so I'm not knocking those movies, because that's just what people wanted at the time. They probably didn't want, or they felt like people didn't want the big, crazy Marvel world. They wanted this. What if the X-Men really existed? What would the world be like? So you're not going to get the Blue Side of the Moon and the Shi'ar Empire and all this.
I mean,
stuff.
I can roll with you on that. Like, I think not us, but people wasn't ready for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I think
general audience.
To the degree that we got what we got, I think it was pretty incredible at the time.
Yeah,
that's like I certainly remember watching it and being like, I would much have preferred the spandex.
Yes,
but, you know what I mean. But I get it. I completely get it. Like, it took those movies and like years of movies like stepping in this direction to get us to a point where, because now you don't have to explain that stuff so much. It was just different. Like, people didn't know.
Right.
They just didn't know.
Even the MCU had to start with they had to, but they felt the need to start with Iron Man, like the most grounded. The only thing you need to suspend your belief on is the fact that he could create this suit that could do all these things. Other than that, there's nothing there's no fantasy.
Yeah, but it's not as difficult because people think you can do anything with money.
Yes.
And so like once they just, it's like the money just comes.
Yeah.
Like we don't really like. When the last time somebody asked you for real, like, where Bruce Wayne money come from?
Right.
That man don't work. He ain't got no job. Like, he owns stuff. Like, they don't know. Like,
he shows up to a gala once in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, he just, so it's like
the only movie that tried to address it was those Batman movies. They tried to say, oh, he's in the, he's creating, he's in the weapons industry, or he does this. But even that didn't get deep into it. It just was like,
no, it was just like, it's kind of a throwaway line, which is, for something like this, right? Again, like, look, animation just gives you so much more freedom.
Yes.
And the only reason why we're able to truly go beyond where we were going in those original X-Men films is because computer animation is just caught up.
Yes.
To where we needed to be in order for us to do it and make it look real. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like and kind of play with all that kind of stuff. So that's allowed us to not have to worry so much about the suspension of disbelief because it doesn't look fake. It doesn't fit, you know what I mean? So it doesn't feel fake. Here, you can go to look. For me, when I see them on the blue side of the moon, and I know that there's a pocket of air there so they can breathe there.
Yeah.
There are people who might be like, yo, Ro can breathe in space. Yo.
Right.
So, you know what I mean? Or whatever. And might just like allow it and just be like, I didn't know she could do that. Or I didn't know.
Did.
Exactly.
She didn't even question it. I don't even think she realized, not because she's not smart enough to realize it, but I don't think she even realized they were fighting on the moon. Like they in a different place.
I think
they hit something.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's kind of the cool thing about it is like I think like after they've been fighting for a while, they cut wide and you see the earth in the background. So there's like what is going on. But like for the most part, like I don't think it hurts the scene. I think it's like if you don't know what's going on, you see that they are in a new space with this construction. And then for people who know, you're like, oh snap, they're on the blue side of the moon.
Yeah.
And like you get something extra from it.
But it's more of an Easter egg for the people who know.
Of an Easter egg, absolutely.
You know, then it is something that's like they're gonna be tons of people who watch this joint and they're like, why they keep showing that samurai dude? They don't know Silver Samurai. They never say his name. Like he's not, you know what I mean? People will recognize Daredevil, but a lot of them not gonna know Cloak and Dagger.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not, you know, like they I know they look, some people might have recognized Psylocke off the video games, even if they didn't play, you know what I'm saying, or whatever. If they weren't a huge comic fan or whatever. I looked at that joint, I said, they put Puck in this joint.
Puck, man.
They threw Puck in the background of this joint, just like, all right, you know what I'm saying? Like anybody can show up in this joint.
Yeah, Omega Red.
Yeah, well, a couple of times, you know what I'm saying? Omega Red shows up. It's, you know, so look, some of it feels like Easter eggy stuff for the people who know. Yeah. Some of it feels like Easter eggy stuff for the future. You know, and other parts of it are just, here is a world that is dealing with something that could very much end the planet.
Yeah.
It's about to be dinosaurs. You know what I mean? Yeah. And everybody is looking and or is concerned or is willing to fight or is whatever. Like whatever that thing is going to be, this is what it is, right? And there's this kind of united front in the midst of all the action that's happening on the planet. Like I mean on Asteroid M, what I do think they do a really good job of is creating a constant suspense, because you're constantly, what's going on Earth? What are they doing? How are they preparing? What's going on back up here? You know what I mean? That whole, all right, well, look, we know what this is about to be. So everybody take a moment to say goodbye.
How did y'all feel about the Peter Parker, Mary Jane cameo? How did y'all feel about that?
Gage?
I mean, I was with it. You know what I mean? Like I was just like, huh. I will say this: it felt a little weird to me. It only because I don't know. It was just weird for him to not be Spider-Man in that moment. You know what I'm saying? To not be.
Like I think that's kind of what I was getting at, because Penny, when I asked her like what she felt about it, because you know it's like the whole like that show, like how that show ended, and then there's like, oh, the fact that Mary Jane is there, like that's kind of a thing, and then you know, I think she thought maybe he should be in costume too. I think she definitely thought that, but I was like, I don't know, it's the end of the world, and I think maybe Peter Parker should be with his loved ones.
Here's the thing, I 1000% agree with that. I just feel like if it's gonna be the end of the world, it looked like they were shopping. Like I think that's the thing. It looked like they went out shopping. Like they was out like looking at a TV in a store window, storefront window. It looked like they was out shopping. It didn't look like it felt like the end of the world was coming. It looked like they was just You know,
I think so. I think for me, like I felt like I watched it twice, but I
mhm.
think I felt like there was like looting and stuff happening.
Mm.
And so like so because like that's what Daredevil was doing,
That's what
right? Like he was
Daredevil
just
was
beating
fighting
Right,
at
up
the beginning.
people on
exactly.
the
Yeah,
streets. He was
yeah.
just beating up people on the streets. And I just feel like it was a I felt like it was a good character contrast between those two because like Daredevil, I feel like he wants to go punch his problems in the face. And Spider-Man, like if I could see him easily being like, because they were like, it's what, 10 minutes till the end of the world. I mean, like the clock was
Something like
down.
that.
Yeah, I
I,
mean, and your
I
friendly
mean, I don't
neighborhood
know. It was
Spider-Man
also
wasn't going to
like
be able to catch.
they're also both in New York, and like it was dark where Daredevil was,
Yeah,
and it was not dark
yeah,
where Peter Parker and Mary Jane were. So
Oh
like I
boy.
don't. I'm
that
just
was
gonna
the
say it was
Aurora
like,
Borealis from the asteroid
yeah.
hitting
I will
Philadelphia.
tell you that like I literally like I rewound the joint. I was like, hold tight. I'm gonna keep it a buck. I didn't even notice Peter at first. I saw Mary
Yeah,
Jane, and I was like,
uh-huh.
hold tight. Ran it back. Was like, hey, just do Mary Jane in this joint. And then I was like, and that's Peter next to her. What's going on? What is he doing?
Yeah,
That's a very much
yeah.
a
I
like
just
I guess like at that point there is kind of a like, I don't know. I guess there is like there's nothing I can do. I can't stop
yeah.
this from happening. So like let's have a moment together. But I would just feel like they would stay home if
Do
that was
that at
where
home.
yeah, like that's what
Yeah.
you know what I mean? I don't know. I thought it was cool
At
that
the
they
same
gave it,
time,
that they did it, announced that it
yeah,
was the 90s Spider-Man and all that. Like I thought that was cool.
yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
maybe a little out of place, maybe a little bit.
I mean, I was
I
just
was still
curious to
happy to
see what
see
you
it.
think.
You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
I was just curious.
I mean, listen, it was nowhere near as bad as the Porsche.
Yeah,
Nowhere near.
the Porsche again.
Nowhere near as bad as
Yeah,
that. You know
man.
what I'm saying?
I thought we were past the Porsche.
No,
I'm saying
sir.
I liked it. I
No,
liked
sir.
it.
I did like it.
Mhm.
I liked them
It's cool.
being out there. I was like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
And
I
then,
thought all the Easter we mentioned it earlier, but I thought all the Easter eggs were because again, once you're getting into that, I truly am suspending my like I'm not thinking about what exactly is happening in Wakanda. Why is Black Panther just standing at the window? I'm thinking, oh shit, it's Black Panther. That's cool. You know what I'm saying? I'm thinking, what is it? And so, for the cameos, it's like, it's definitely fan service, but it's like I feel like it's well earned fan service because we've been kind of thinking about this all season. I wasn't expecting Daredevil to show up or Cloak and Dagger. I certainly wasn't expecting to see Cloak and Dagger. But I was definitely thinking I was going to see some Avengers. I was definitely thinking I was going to see. We all thought we'd see Spider-Man, and I got my cool Spider-Man. By the way, that was cool for people that watched the show and the whole looking for Mary Jane thing.
yeah.
We got to see the web slinger doing this.
Yeah,
You know what I mean. So like these are like these are things for their payoffs for me. So I thought it was cool for sure. I didn't think about that it was daylight though. That's kind of fun.
Yeah, man. Look, I'm overall, I'll put it this way. I think that to be a finale for a season that had this much going on in it, that all of what they packed into this final episode, it's still very digestible. There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's a lot going on. There's still a lot of storylines that are like, of course you use the very end of it to just develop new storylines. Like there's we finished this.
But
however,
what's coming,
you know what I mean, or whatever, right? But in the midst of that, you're trying to put a bow on the whole Cable thing. You're trying to put a bow on the Madeline Pryor thing with the Jean Grey thing. I guess you're trying to put a bow on the Phoenix thing. You're trying to put a bow on the Bastion thing. You're trying to put a bow on what's going on with Magneto and Xavier. We still don't know what that means for the Shi'ar and the war that they were having, you know what I'm saying, up there or whatever. Like you're really trying to take all these loose ends that like in a comic book, they would tell you go pick up issue this of that book to see what happens with this, and they would tell you to go pick up this, you know what I mean? And there would be these kind of offshoots and these additional pieces of storytelling that like if you wanted that information, you could go pick it up and get it somewhere.
And that's something Bo was trying to do on Twitter.
Sure, but like it's Twitter. You know what I mean? Like if you're reading a book, right?
Yeah.
And then the information is in the book, they will tell you, go get this issue of this book, right?
Yeah.
But like in the TV show, if you're watching the TV show, like that thing doesn't exist, right? And for a while they tried stuff like that with second screen experiences or whatever.
Yeah,
it just isn't there. And so, you know, again, we talked in the beginning about how you're taking a run. I do still feel like as a whole, the season is too short. I think there's a lot of storytelling that just doesn't happen the way I feel like it really should have properly been done, because they only gave us 10 episodes and we're used to getting 26 episodes of a, you know what I'm saying, of a season like this. And so you're trying to condense all of that storytelling. Again, not unlike trying to do it in a movie, you're trying to condense all that storytelling into 10 episodes instead of spreading it out and getting an additional 16 episodes.
Not even like a 42-minute episode like we kind of used to getting with the live shows. A straight 30 minutes is all you got.
Right. That's a very, and again, it's not easy to do. It's expensive to do. We know that there are pieces of story that, you know, writing that gets cut, but and stuff that did make it, but then ends up getting cut or whatever, right? So
that's all the way for sure.
Right. So when you have that, there's going to be things that maybe feel a little more disconjointed. I think for what they managed to get on screen in front of us, they did a hell of a job, right? And that I do believe that this episode does a really solid job of tying up what feels like the loose ends that are supposed to get tied up.
Yeah.
Right. And then the ones that are like hanging in the balance aren't really that important to the overall story in the grand scheme of things. Like, we don't really need to know what's going on with the Shi'ar right now.
You can revisit that whenever. So,
you know what I mean? That's just kind of one of those things. Like, it is what
Do
it
it
is.
ever really matter what's going on with the Shi'ar?
In some cases it does. Like, eventually it comes to pass.
Eventually,
right?
Yeah, sure. But they usually, when it matters, they usually crash land on Earth and be like, "Yo, actually, it'll be Gladiator." Like somebody will like punch him like
Xavier. I have a message for him.
Yeah, something like that.
I mean, I guess, I mean, look, anybody asked where Banner was. You know what I mean? Like, world's coming to an end. Where's Banner, bro? We heard about him. We built this bunker to hold the Hulk. It don't hold a rogue. So
it don't hold a Hulk.
Like, you know, I mean, look, I think the episode does a really good job of that. And like, coming to the end of it again, look, the Bastion thing, I'll be honest, Bastion's ending is kind of lackluster. Like, it happens, but it kind of happens like with a speech being told to you, and kind of like a whole, like him holding the center foot down, and like it just kind of happens, and this is like super cliche, very like, but again, for all intents and purposes, Bastion is kind of throwaway. Like, the truth of the matter is, like, you don't even know Bastion is a threat until like episode 7. You know what I'm saying? Like, the series is more than half over before technically you even know he's a threat. And then you can go back and see that technically he was there sowing seeds the whole time. You don't know anything about him. Everything that this show is talking about or telling you about or you are dealing with up front is specifically tied to the X-Men and what they are dealing with, right? It is Magneto coming back. It is Xavier being gone. It is Xavier, I don't know, making babies somewhere, you know what I'm saying, out in space, and like, you know what I'm saying, not knowing. It is Genosha being a thing. It is like all of these other things. Like you have.
So like out of curiosity, like, because I mean, I always thought like that's the point of it. Like, Bastion is not. Bastion, he just represents like the general prejudice and hatred that we're all dealing with like every day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, And like even in the comics, like Bastion, like he's not that big of a deal.
He's
You know what I
not.
mean?
He's not at
Yeah,
all. He's not a big deal
you
at
know.
all.
So he's a fun boss battle.
Right.
But to me, like the drama of the show is like we were in the at the cast crew thing on Wednesday,
Right.
and we were watching it. All the fans are in there. Everybody's like boost it, and then the professor and Magneto are in the little dream thing, and like every time they talk. And the people in the bar were going crazy. They were like, kiss him, like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Oh yeah. That like it was a whole thing. Like it's all about. I mean, the X-Men is all about like those personal relationships. Like this
Exactly.
whole
Yeah.
season was just building up to these two characters having this beef.
Yeah.
Or like not even these two. Like this family
Yeah.
had this like crucial breakdown, and
Yeah.
then they bring it back together.
How did it get? Yeah, that's the ingredient that's been missing from the X-Men for 20. How long the show been on? For 30 years, however long it's been.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously, there's been great X-Men representation in medium, and there's been horrible ones, right? But what you have never seen is the family aspect. It's very difficult because Gage, you said it earlier when we were talking about, and this streaming conversation is a bigger conversation because I just told you two of my favorite franchise is shrinking. It's at its peak. It's popular as hell. So you would think they would go, oh, Game of Thrones is as popular as it's ever been. Let's do 20 episodes. They're putting out new show after new show, but they're doing less and less. So that's a streaming conversation. But to your point about streaming and movies, it's difficult to fit all of that in. But I think the frustration with X-Men fans when it comes to how it's been represented in the past 2 decades is that you don't need 20 hours to tell the family aspect, to tell the story about the family. And this proved that. We can all agree that 10 episodes, we would love to have more episodes. You know what I mean? We all agree there, right? Who doesn't want more of this show? Is great. But even with that, they were able to get the main, the jewel of the X-Men, which is the family aspect, that this is a family. And then sometimes they beef. And sometimes they fight each other. And sometimes one of them gets possessed by an alien and the other one. Sometimes their minds meld and they turn into a supervillain. But at the end of the day, they're family. And that's what I really, really, really enjoyed even about this episode. Again, I mentioned earlier the idea that they were fighting together. They needed to fight. And even that thing with Bastion, I hear what you're saying, and I don't disagree. But I thought the metaphor of Bastion, the irony of Bastion, which is like, dude, basically you're a mutant, and your idea of what humanity should be is essentially making them into mutants. You know what I'm saying? And so the idea and the discussion with him, yeah, part of it was like, okay, let's end this, let's get to this, because the real fight is taking down Magneto. That's what the season started with Magneto being a badass, and it ended with them treating him like a badass, having protocols for him, and him having to do something. You know what I mean? So Bastion it's almost like a side character almost.
Where Bastion sits in his representation as being a mutant, right? But also hating the mutants, right? And kind of having it, anybody can get it kind of attitude. Is reminiscent of, again, if you did the homework that Bo assigned, right? Go back to the original run of the series when they grabbed Senator Kelly at the time, take him to master mold, tell him your brain is going to be replaced with a computer, right? And they start snatching up all the world leaders, right? We're going to replace your brain with a computer. And he says, you're designed to protect the humans from the mutants. And Massimo said, that don't make any sense. Mutants are human.
Yep.
That's it. And so literally what Bastion is a real representation of that exact thing. he is a mutant and a human and a machine.
Yeah.
And hates them all, dog. hates all of them. Because look, and here's the thing. Not to like there are depths to this that go further than I think that most people would ever truly give them credit for. But I do believe that a character like Bastion goes a step further into speaking to what it's like to be of mixed race.
Yeah.
In a world where you're not black enough for the black people, and you're not white enough for the white people, and or you're not Asian enough for the Asian people. And so I do think that Bastion kind of sits in that place where it's like, well, you're not quite mutant enough for us.
He's Drake.
But he's very much Drake, right? Yeah, you're not quite rapper enough for the others. Like,
he's Logic. Drake
quite pop enough for the pop folks, and not quite rap enough for the rap folks. Like, Bastion is that. He's like, he is mutant. He's not human enough for the humans. He's not mutant enough for the mutants, and he's not even really machine enough for the machines, right? So if he doesn't have the control over all of it, then he doesn't have a place. He doesn't know what his place is, right? And I do think that there is a deeper story to be told there that I don't think really gets fleshed out, but I believe that that's kind of where that sits, right? That kind of a thing. And so I do think it's an important, thing to say, and I don't want it to seem like now it's like, well, mixed race people are the evil ones and we should destroy them, because that's kind of how it ends up.
It's a metaphor. We understand.
But I do think that matters, right? And look, I think
I mean, like, I think what you're speaking to is the character's humanity and like how like his motivation, and to some degree where that Cyclops monologue came from. You know what I mean? Like, it's to sort of address that idea without like completely saying the thing you just said about he's the bad guy. He's going to be the bad guy. That's the solution.
Right. I mean, a lot of it is like, look, Sinister got his again, because Sinister is also introduced as like a villain. He's kind of playing in the background the whole time, but not really ever in the forefront. So you finally kind of get to see him get his comeuppance. Again, you're dealing with Bastion in the background. You get his comeuppance. Magneto's there basically the entire time. Yeah. The enemy in this show is discrimination. That's the enemy in the show.
Enemy. Yeah.
And that's the thing that's like, you talk about the family aspect. Yes, that's a thing. But I do think that the whole point of something like this is that it's not any one individual person / villain or anti-villain or whatever. It is all these varying opinions on what's the right way to handle the situation. Right? You're the government. You got this crazy thing going on. We do have these Magneto protocols. Man, I would really hate to have to push this button, but it looks like I got to push this button.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And there are always going to be people who disagree with that and how that's handled. And they're always like, the real villain in the show, the thing we're trying to fight and combat and teach people to be better about, is discrimination. That's what the point of the X-Men is. That's what it always has been. And so, you have this family that is a combination of all these different people from all these different backgrounds that love all these different things and manage to get along with each other. That's the point.
They've always got discrimination. They've always gotten that right in X-Men medium. The family part is what, because I'm not saying it, because I agree with you. So full stop, I agree with you. But I think what made the show very enjoyable for most people was seeing something different in the X-Men. We've always had them fighting discrimination. Like, that has been, Bryan Singer was doing that great. But you always felt like it was like maybe 2 or 3 X-Men that really mattered, and the rest of them were kind of just like, oh, okay, whatever. And then you started having individual Deadpools fighting, even though Deadpool didn't fight discrimination. But you get my point.
You know what? On that note, while you're making that, and now that Jerry is here, I just want to throw this out there because I didn't go back and check it. This show, to your point, Adam, does a really good job of kind of giving like everybody else except Wolverine, like almost like an individual, like an episode themselves kind of thing, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I saw somebody post that you could tell who the episode, like whose episode it was, by who narrated the previously on X-Men thing. And I didn't catch that because I always skip that. Like when that joint would come up and do the previous, I don't need that part. But I'm always watching the intro. I watched every intro because I want to see what's different.
Yeah.
But I never really paid attention to the previously on. And my understanding
it was a
of
different
it is
character every time. Yeah.
a different character is the person that narrates the previously on every episode, and whoever's narrating it is their episode. Like this episode that's coming is their episode.
Yeah.
And I think again, that's just like it's so easy to like they give you the skip button, dog. I just skipped it. You know what I mean? It just it's kind of really dope and really smart to do something like that. And even kind of in the back of your head, give you this preface of like, yeah, well, we can ready go a little bit of a different direction. We're gonna kind of try to take care of this person in this episode, right? We're gonna deal with this thing that's still a thing again, because again, the enemy was Storm not having her powers. The enemy was Forge being the person who was partially responsible for her losing her powers. It was, all of these different things. I think I don't disagree with you that that the family aspect is a thing that maybe hasn't been quite as right in a lot of the other ways we've gotten the X-Men over the year. I would argue that X-Men Evolution and Wolverine and the X-Men handle that very well. I think the live action mediums maybe don't do it quite as well, with the exception of maybe First Class. First Class, I think, handles that really well. I will say that I think what this show does really, really well is allow what feels like a background moment to pull itself to the forefront. Let's deal with this background moment and then complete that for us. And then we get to move on. Again, I do think a lot of it happens too fast. I think Storm being without her powers, I think it is kind of, even though they kind of dedicate like a serious, like half an episode to it, right? I do think it happens very fast. It does feel very rushed. But again, you only got 10 episodes. So we kind of got to get in there and knock it out, right? And so if I do have one major complaint about the season as a whole, is that there weren't enough episodes to do the storytelling, to truly flesh out the storytelling the way I actually think it should have been done. Or not necessarily the way it should have been done, but in a way that I feel like would have serviced it as a whole much better. That notwithstanding, I think the way that this episode comes to an end, it's probably not my favorite way for things to end. Because we're gonna wait a long time to get anything
that's
about
actually so I actually have a question from my wife.
Okay.
You, Jerry, and it's not a spoiler thing, and like that, but just a general. She's very curious about how long will it take to animate the show. My brother-in-law gave her a number. Yeah, so yeah, she wanted to know. I told her I'd ask you.
Oh yeah, it takes about 9 months to get roughly about 9. Like once the animatic is cut and complete, then it takes about 9 months to get animation back. And then depending on like what you get back, you can spend, a month, a little bit more on like retakes, that kind of thing. So this show is like super complicated. Like y'all remember like they originally were talking about the show coming out in like fall of the like last year, and the reason it didn't happen is because like it's hard. Like the stuff, the boards that were turned in, and all of these action sequences, like they're 2D animated by people, and we were asking a lot. You know what I mean? And so it just takes time. But yeah, it's about 9 months.
Okay.
I mean, you worked on this like 2 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah. And then it came out in the last 10 weeks.
So, yeah.
Right? They're like,
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, for real, 9 weeks because they did the first 2 joints together or whatever, right? And am I tripping?
They did.
Yeah, they did. Yes, they did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First episode together. So really,
No, you know what? On the premiere in the theater, they actually showed the first 3 episodes.
The first 3, right.
Yeah. And so like I know the press was in there too, so they got to see.
Yeah.
But yeah, and honestly, like I'm pretty sure they were still working on the last couple episodes as we were watching, the first probably like 4 episodes, 4 or 5.
I can see that.
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me. You know what I mean? Look, I mean, we just gonna go ahead and do it. Like, we managed to get ourselves to a place where, like, we saved the world, we saved the planet, we stopped it all, and then we just disappeared. And the world is like, what happened? You know what I mean? It's been months. We got to figure it out. Bishop shows up to talk to Forge. Like, ain't the first time the X-Men been dead. We have been separated. We're not in the same places. We're in different time periods. We got a little Nathan and a little Rachel Summers action going on with Cyclops and Jean, and we got that Albert Schur, that apocalypse, and they had to save him. You know what I mean? And
past, present, and future.
It's getting ready to be.
Yeah, I'm excited.
I am.
It's gonna take a long time, but I'm excited.
Yeah, that's it.
I mean, I mean, y'all know they already greenlit season 3. Like, y'all are aware of that.
Sure.
Yeah, they talked about that today.
Yeah, so I mean, I wouldn't worry too much about like how long it's going to take. I mean, it was going to take however long it takes, but it's not like they're like, okay, let's start writing scripts.
Yeah. Well, I read they're in post-production now, right? Whatever that means.
Read that somewhere?
I saw that again. I don't know if that's a fact. I saw that they were in post-production and that they were that's why I saw the season 3. We're doing season 3. Season 2 will be, not to get all deep into it, will be Bo's script, and then season 3, whatever they're gonna plan to do. But I don't know if that was internet talk or real announcement.
I mean, it's not he say she say. It's like underway. Like, it's definitely Bo's scripts and stuff.
Yeah. So. He did 2 and 3 is what I saw, that he did 2 and 3 before they decided to part ways. That's how we gonna call it, right? Look, here's the thing. I think for me, the concern is, again, we live in a streaming world, and that has changed the way that we create and consume this kind of entertainment. And when you are pulling at the strings of nostalgia for something that was a Saturday morning cartoon that you could count on every Saturday for like half the school year, you know what I'm saying, or whatever, right? Like, give or take, right? They could very easily be working on, halfway through that season, they're working on the next season, and you're only going to get a little bit of a break in the summertime, and then it's going to be time for the new season to start. You know what I mean? And so we didn't have to wait the way we have to wait. So not only did we get way more episodes, but the amount of episodes we got at 22 minutes a pop, filled with like, well, we know we're going to get this kind of advertising for it, and we know we're going to, whatever, because we can run these commercials in front of these kids for cereal and toys and blah, blah, blah. So there's all this money coming in to help deal with the marketing side of it that doesn't exist the same way in streaming, right? And so being able to pay for 26 episodes, it's got to happen very differently, right? To get it out and get it animated, and to have people come in and do the acting for it, and that, like, all of those things are happening in a very different landscape from the way that television was made, where like you could basically say this show is a hit, and so we can guarantee that we're charging this amount of money for these commercials to run in these exact slots during this show. You know what I mean? Every Saturday, and you know people are gonna have eyes on it, and therefore you can bank on it, right? And like, so you're not creating in that same space anymore. And so, you know, again, to only get 10 episodes when you pull the nostalgia strings and you're used to getting 26.
Yeah.
And then, you know, you're likely going to wait much longer than you would have waited in the past to get the next part of the story. You begin to wonder, like, all right, so then what are the things that are going to happen in the meantime that kind of help to satiate our hunger for more X-Men content? It's like, well, we're getting Deadpool and we'll get Wolverine in that. And so, you know what I mean? So we'll get some there, and there's plenty of stuff to go back and watch. You can go back and rewatch this because, again, you have it already. You can go back and rewatch it. You can go back and watch the original run of the series. You can watch Wolverine and the X-Men. You can go and watch, like, you can go get your X-Men if you want it. You know what I mean? And you have to find a way to do it, and they have to find a way to get it to you, to like continue to feed you, to keep you ready for it, or to leave you wanting it bad enough that you want it so bad that there's no way you're not going to tune in when it comes back around, right?
I think it's a combination of both. I think that I think that the MCU has definitely taken the lid off the X-Men. I think the X-Men are here. I mean, you know, you got an X-Men movie basically coming out next month. They keep talking about how it's going to reset things and do all this and that. You got X-Men popping up in the Marvels, the last movie that came out. There's no reason for me to believe that you won't have X-type cameos in some of the films that's going to be coming up next year. Now, reason why I say it's a combination of both is because I think they've learned their lesson, Marvel in general, about oversaturating the market with content. I mean, they've said it, not even Marvel. And again, I mean, Disney has said it. I mean, I think that maybe we won't get like X-Men at the X-Men, you know, content at the content at the content. If I take them at their word, they say 2 projects a year on each side, 2 shows, 2 movies. Excuse me.
I mean, I would believe that for the, you know, for the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's how the industry is working, how it has been working. Like the entire entertainment bubble of like COVID streaming, the streaming wars, like all of that stuff just like and it changed everything. And then, you know, just in general, I mean, my personal take is probably the same as y'all. Is like it was just too much stuff coming out too quickly for you to you know, like it just at the end of the day, like it just takes time. You know what I mean? Like you can't just be like, oh, like we want to have, you know, 10 new projects out and then be like, and here are the release dates, but I don't have any ideas.
Yeah, what we're
and
doing.
Then, you know, you start from there. Like once you start from there, then, you know, you're caught, you're sandwiched in between when you started and when this thing needs to be out with people looking at it. And so, you know, in the creative process, like people end up doing the best that they can. You know, and they're giving you everything that they could, but you know, if I don't have time to, you know, think it out, if I didn't have something great to begin with, or, you know, any of that stuff. I mean, it's just it was a lot of that. And I think fortunately, like the X-Men series in particular didn't suffer from any of that. You know, and so now we're in a place where you know, like right as X-Men was in production, you know, they threw like everything else out, but they kept going with the X-Men. So, you know, I think that says something. And then you know, from here forward, hopefully, you know, things have kind of settled so we'll start to see like more consistency. So
I mean, look, I think that there's certainly something to be said for like changing a bunch of dates, like putting out a bunch of dates and then having to go back and change those dates and so forth. And then you look at something like, why is Coca-Cola have just this whole thing going with Marvel characters on Coke cans? Something must have been supposed to come out at this point. We just didn't get it. That marketing deal was already in it, and they like, well,
sure,
these don't out.
Well, y'all have seen those the McDonald's commercials with the
Captain America.
With Yeah,
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
where's
It's
the
like
movie's not out?
Because it was
the
supposed
deal,
to come out
the
this
deal
year.
was done.
Yeah.
Exactly. The deal was
And it
already done.
just
Yeah.
the
I was
the
like,
reality of this kind of entertainment is, you have a script. Maybe the script is great, but
Yeah.
like those things change as soon as you start producing it.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I'm finna go to McDonald's and get all them toys only because, as far as we know, some of them characters they got in them toys might not even show up in the movie.
I mean, this year we were supposed to be watching the new Daredevil, and it was supposed to be 18 episodes.
Yeah.
We're supposed to have Captain America out, and I think the Thunderbolts was supposed to be out. So everybody's had to calm down, spread things out. But to answer your original question, I do think that X-Men, again, I don't want to exaggerate. I don't want to, there's going to be X-Men all over the place, but I do think that there will be X-Men content in there when things come out. Maybe not in the Thunderbolts, maybe not. But when things happen, I think you'll have X-Men like content, because I think they've officially taken the lid off, and not just because this animated series came out and it's so cool, but because what I saw in the Marvels and what's coming out next month and what they're saying about Deadpool and what Deadpool is supposed to do to the MCU. Again, a lot of that is probably just marketing, but I'm sure it's going to shift some things around. I think you'll get X-Men content, but I think, again, be smart with it. Don't oversaturate the market with it because it's working. Leave us wanting more. I think it's better that way when we want more.
Yeah, I mean, look, my honest take on it is that as far as this season is concerned of this series, I love it.
Yeah.
Like, I think they did an incredible job with what they had, what they put in front of us, with picking up where the last show left off, giving us the feeling that we need of like, all right, well, we definitely get another season. Like that feeling, you kind of need that at the end, right? So that you don't feel like you're not going to get answers to some of what's going on with the characters and so forth. I wish this show was doing better. Like, I wish there were more people talking about it. I don't feel like it's just us, but I feel like it's mostly us. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's people
Like
who
the
already
community, or
know.
like
Ratings.
Yeah, I think in terms of like streaming, like to me, it's crazy that like Echo did better numbers in this.
Yeah,
it's shorter though.
Really?
Yeah, like twice as much view time as this.
That's criminal.
It feels a little
now. Me being the hopeful person that I can tend to be sometimes. I think that it's an animated series. And I think that I've seen people, I'm just going to go off my own personal timeline, which is not filled with comic book enthusiasts and fans of this content. There's a lot of different fans also. I've seen little by little more people going, yo, I watched X-Men 97. I didn't realize, and this was like last week, people going that. I have a really good friend who is a huge X-Men fan, who has been jaded on Marvel for some reasons I think are kind of goofy, but that's between me and him, is whatever, who I have convinced to watch X-Men. Now, mind you, I'm not talking about millions of people here. I'm talking about people I've seen in my own, world. I think that this is the type of show that has a lot of goodwill in it. A lot of people are excited about it. And what I hope is that people will just start streaming it. Like, they weren't watching it live as much. And remember, Echo came out in one large clump.
Right.
You know what I mean? And they promoted it hard, and they did a great job at promoting Echo. They really did. They remember, I know everything feels like a million years ago, but when they had the promos for Echo, it was her doing complete violence. It was Daredevil might be in this, and I think people kind of watch it expecting to see Daredevil, and I think people were really excited to watch, and I think they really wanted to see what Disney doing, like dumping all of their episodes are going to be like. So I think people binged it. This was appointment viewing, obviously. The promotion was not the same as Echo, and it's animated. So I think that the good word of mouth, and there is a lot of good word of mouth around it. I mean, it's got 98% on Rotten Tomatoes. I think that people will start to watch it. I don't know if it's going to get like WandaVision numbers or Percy Jackson numbers, but I'm hopeful that it'll go up.
So Echo was like second in streaming this past year, only to Percy Jackson.
Yeah.
And
which is wild.
I will tell you that, but I will tell you that I do think that to put it bluntly, I think that Echo got a lot of minority views. I think that there were a lot of indigenous Native American people who wanted to see that very badly, and I think that the deaf community really, really got behind Echo and really helped to elevate that show in particular to where it is. I don't think Echo was certainly not the greatest of the stuff that the MCU was put out, right? But I do think that for a lot of the community, it did a lot of great things and put a spotlight on not just you're talking about you're talking about people who are deaf. You're talking about, again, indigenous people. You're talking about a character that is missing a little, you know what I mean, that has a has a prosthetic. There's a lot of different communities, I think, that rallied around that show, right? Because it put them in the spotlight, like it let them see themselves, right? And X-Men is harder to do that. You really kind of have to, you got to know what's going on to see yourself in these characters, so to speak, right? And so
animated show, and also just real quick, an animated show, and also all that you saying is true, Gage. Echo had one of the best trailers in MCU history.
Period.
And it leaned on Kingpin. It literally was Kingpin beating the out of someone. So not only are those people you talking about,
it brought back the Netflix MCU community.
There you go. That's what I'm trying to say. So not even just that. You got all the it actually tricked people that were Daredevil fans into going, oh my God, I'm about to get. They promoted it as this is what is it, Marvel? I forgot the banner of like their rated R stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like they did a great job promoting that show. That X-Men 97, they did not put that energy into promoting. I mean, they did trailers.
X-Men 97 doesn't feel like it's for kids.
No,
but it is
animated. That's what I'm saying. Like, but
I think that's part of the problem.
Yeah, because they promoted it. If you're just a person, you're going, oh, cool. They bring them at the X-Men cartoon from the 90s. That's cool. They didn't promote.
If you understand, like, I think most people don't even know that. Yeah, with a name like X-Men 97, I think people don't even know that that's a thing. They don't even know.
Right, cool. But I'm just saying it's a cartoon. So most people saw that it was a cartoon. They're like, oh, that's cool. Most people are in, the general audience. A lot of people are going to be into watching.
Yeah.
So and even with the promotion, they did not promote what we got.
Right.
I mean, I'm surprised, but that's not going to bring in the
I think it's much harder to make that crossover, and I think there are a lot of adults who were willing to watch Percy Jackson versus a lot of the adults. I also didn't see, like, when I would go to Disney Plus to turn it on to watch X-Men, I wouldn't see it. Wouldn't be included in like the 10 banners that are at the top as you scroll through.
Wouldn't be the first
not included in that joint at all. I it was there like the first week, and it was there for the final joint, and I didn't see it any other week other than that. Like they didn't push it.
Yeah, they weren't. They weren't pushing it.
So like y'all are definitely hitting it. I mean, like the reality is like, I mean, in the United States, people, normies, the non-mutant community, you know what I mean? They look at animation. They just see cartoons.
Viewed for children.
Viewed
as something for children to watch.
Exactly.
Even though it's changed over years, because you got things like Attack on Titan that those kids are growing up on. And,
can't hear you real well, son.
Yeah, I know why.
You just sound kind of low. You good, but
okay. But no, I was just saying, it's just changed over years with anime growing so popular. But still, you got a lot of the older people who still just look at it as it's always for something for children. And
sure. And then like again, like just this wider audience of people who like don't like, they see the idea of something animated and they can't even like stomach the notion of like sitting there to watch it. Like I've got like family members who are just like animation bleh. You know, and I get it, you know, it's not for everybody, but and then also like the second part of that is that even inside Disney, like they don't necessarily believe that people want to see animation. Like I know that they're not like, oh yeah, let's make these things because you know it'll bring in bucks. Like they don't
because they're
they don't think
making
that.
stuff like Mufasa.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
make it look
Right.
real. Do a sequel. You know, I mean, look. This show. I think anybody who is even remotely interested in, again, there's a lot of pushback on that, I think too, but I think anybody who's even remotely interested in just watching a good show, this show is that, right? Now, do I think there are better animated shows? Yes. Where does this rank? Like this season of television, where does it rank amongst them? Like it's not even, I don't know if this might be in my top 10 of like a season of like, but you got to work real hard to beat Young Justice for me. Like real hard to beat Young Justice for me. And you're going to probably work, and Young Justice is like, I mean, it's hard to beat Justice League Unlimited for me.
True.
Or Justice League for real. You fighting the fight to beat Batman, the animated Superman. That Superman animated joint is fluke, but that Batman animated
we'll
series,
talk about that one,
bro. That
Don't do
thing,
me like this, man. That
listen, I
Superman
just
joint
gotta
is
keep it a buck.
clean.
But I'm gonna tell you what, Young Justice,
fire.
Young Justice is like incredible TV. It's not incredible.
I still
animation.
need to go back and finish that.
It's incredible TV, and you gotta like really fight to get that. As far as a show, this is great X-Men. This is great X-Men content. I don't know that this is great MCU content.
It's great MCU content. It's great MCU content. And
my personal opinion is that remains to be seen, technically.
No,
I'm
gonna tell you why I believe that. I'm gonna tell you why I believe that. We are nerds here. We watch all the stuff. You bringing up shows and stuff that like when I think the MCU worked because it connected to the general audience. Most people that was liking the MCU won't even watch most of the stuff. To Sense point, they won't even watch half the shit we talking. Excuse me, half the stuff we're talking about, right? When it comes to, and that doesn't mean the MCU was lesser. It just means it had a way of connecting in a different way, right?
Right.
When you throw this in the MCU, it's now I don't like when people go, it's the best thing the MCU has done since Endgame. I think that's like really, you know, a kind of like group thing. It's a lot of cool things that came out since Endgame, right? A lot. It's one of the best things that's come out since Endgame for sure. It's one of the best things in this phase for sure. It's been it's had, you know, if you just take the episode, right? That's some of the most thrilling and exciting and emotionally compelling content that the MCU has ever done. Just that one episode. Okay. So I definitely think it's some of the best MCU. There's also this kind of like misnomer about the MCU that like everything they did was just like this every movie was just like knocking out the box home run. This is better than Ant-Man 2. This is better than Thor 2. This is better than Iron Man.
It's not.
2.
No, it's not.
Okay.
Wait, it's not better than Thor 2?
And here's the thing. And here's the thing.
It's not better than Thor 2, though.
The only reason why oh my God, Thor: The Dark World, go back and watch it again.
Everything's better than Thor 2.
Thor 2 was garbage for a long time, but like, I'm just trying to tell you, like, go back and watch it. It was trash.
You can't win this fight. You can't win this fight. Yeah,
but nonetheless, I'm not even really ready to call this MCU material yet. I know we all saw The Watcher. I know we saw it. Until they do something to tie it for real, it's not.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I understand. When you say MCU, you mean like are these characters somehow related to the Captain America we've been seeing in live action?
Right now,
yeah.
Right? This does not feel like the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I say that almost in the same sense that, in a way, What If doesn't feel like the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So even though we have the Watcher to kind of tie those things together, but we know that What If is MCU canon, same actors, the likenesses of those characters, those actors in animation, like it's official. This doesn't feel like that yet to me. And until they do something that ties it in, it isn't. Maybe that happens maybe that happens in Deadpool in a month. Maybe.
Right.
Yeah, because that's a different question. Like if we because I have to agree with that. Like, is it a part of the MCU? Then I don't know. The Watcher.
Well, my words were, this doesn't feel like great MCU content. And the reason why I'm saying that is because it doesn't feel like MCU content yet. You just didn't let me get that far because you was ready to go to bat.
All right, bro.
Asteroid M. We was on Asteroid M.
Which is cool. You know what I'm saying? I'm not even mad at that because I love the energy. Like, I'm here for it. Yeah. Defend the MCU all day. You know what I'm saying? So like right now, this exists in a bubble, in a place where currently, even though it's tied to the original run of the series, the original run of the series doesn't feel like MCU to me, right? It doesn't yet. And like the Fox movies don't. I know that is supposed to change when Deadpool happens, right? They were a different run, and I can accept this whole like multiversal, these things happen, but they happen in a different, like I can accept all of that. And when you do something like you did at the end of the Marvels and you throw Kelsey Grammer in at the end of the joint and Clint Simmons clearly in the X-Mansion, and like we've done a crossover. Until they give it to me, dog, I can't, because I'm ready to be like, all right, bet. Then Marvel vs. Capcom, that's canon. That's MCU. And X-Men Children of the Atom, that joint is MCU. Because the same voice of Wolverine is both joints, like, and they're starting to take stuff from those games and use those moves in the animation in this show. And so, like, there's a whole lot of tying things together. I can make almost anything work together, Adam. I'm good at that. However, until they do it, you know what I'm saying? Like, they really got, and I think that's a lot of the difference. I think there are people like, there is no reason. Part of the reason for the MCU success is because there's always been a reason to watch the next thing, because it's tied to the last thing you saw. This doesn't have any of that. It has no ties to anything else that you've seen, except for the Watcher showing up, which for most people, they're like, I don't even know what you're talking about. I don't even know who that is. And I seen all the MCU stuff, and I'd be like, you watch What If? And they'd be like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, because they don't know doesn't mean that it's not.
They also didn't watch the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special, or the, you know what I mean? Like, so
yeah,
I'm just saying that, like, right now, but that still felt connected to me. This doesn't feel
because it was those characters.
Correct.
Yeah.
So while I recognize these characters, I know who they are, and I understand where their place is supposedly in this whole thing. We also are coming from a place where what felt like it was supposed to be MCU, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., isn't MCU. Like, do something for me. Tell me all of that's canon, because like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and say it was a different universe or whatever. I don't care how you do it. Give me do something with this multiverse that tells me Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. wasn't a waste of my time as far as loving the MCU, because it was good TV. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And it was a lot happening. And I know we went away from the Terrigen and all that. So this show, as good as it is, exists in its own space. It exists in a space that is separated from the original run, and it exists in a space that is separate from the MCU. And so it just exists. And right now, it might as well be the X-Men anime show. It might as well be Wolverine and the X-Men. It might as well be X-Men Evolution. It's just another X-Men show that didn't quite do the numbers, even if it was a great show. That's where it's sitting right now for me, because it is echoing the other things that they've tried to do with the X-Men over the years that actually were really good. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't like every character in X-Men Evolution. I didn't like all the voice acting in X-Men Evolution. The story's dope. Wolverine and X-Men is dope. There's stuff happening in that joint with Polaris that's like, it's insane. You know what I mean? But like, it didn't hit. So like, this is in that same spot where like it's there and it's great. And here it is for you, for everybody to go and consume and whatever. But until they tie it to something that gives people a reason to go, you know what? You should definitely be checking this out, right? Even if they don't quite do that, because I do believe the MCU is getting to a place where it is a lot like comic books, where it is that like, yeah, if this is your favorite character, read his book, read her book, read their book, and then like we'll do something that ties them all together. If you want to get the extra story, then you might pick up these other couple of issues and this other thing so you get the whole story, but you don't need everything to get the whole story. Right now, the MCU is still designed like it's all one story. And we're starting to get these kind of offshoots where it's all the same world, but it's not all the same story. And you don't need to have everything, but they haven't successfully done that yet. This might be the first real piece of that. And if that is, it's cool. They still have to do more than give me, you know what I'm saying, a constellation in the sky that looks like the Watcher to make it feel like that. You know what I'm saying? So what's happening in the Daredevil comic book still felt like it was in the same universe as the X-Men comic books and what was happening in the Avengers comic books and what was happening in, you know, X-Force.
Mm-hmm.
Comic books did that. This is an offshoot right now. I wanted to be a part of it, but I'm also in a place where like I don't really need it to be a part of it. I'm okay with it if it isn't.
Yeah,
I'm totally okay.
Yeah, so, I hear what you're saying. I do think the Watcher connects things. I think that's kind of his point. And
it is like it is like
yeah,
it is
yes,
but like it is, but like like as a fan, I'm with you, Gage. Like, you know, in terms of, because that's actually how I feel about like What If the show, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like the big thing I always talk about is I know nobody like Doctor Strange but me and Penny, like the second one.
I love Doctor Strange.
I love the second Doctor Strange.
Oh my goodness, that joint was vicious.
Yeah,
and
there's some corny moments for
sure, but like I always say, like the missed opportunity is that crazy Doctor Strange, one of those bad guy dudes, should have been the Doctor Strange from What If. It should have been him, and like that brings it together, right? Like now it's like, oh, like that's him, you know what I mean? And then, you know, now like it was there, and they just didn't. You know what I mean?
A little
and
bit,
so
maybe. Like, zombie thing. I don't, you know, whatever.
It's see, but like what you're saying is like you can make it fit. I can
exactly.
But it's you know what I mean? Like that's like that's us in our heads. Like it could be, maybe it is, maybe it isn't.
Right.
But I that's what I feel about this other stuff. And so like with the X-Men, I feel like yes, the Watcher he's watching their Earth because this thing happened. Like that's what the Watcher does. He watches, he shows up at terrible times to document. And so like that's what that is. But like Gage, what you're saying is like, unless I see something else to connect
it may not be part of the MCU like movie time. I agree. I mean, because I think it's kind of like semantics. Like, yes, it's not going to be an X-Men. They're probably not going to show up in Secret Wars, right? But they have this plot device that connects things, even if it's other multiverses, which is the Watcher. But again, the overall point that you all are making, I agree with 100%. I don't need it to be an MCU. I don't need an X-Men 97 movie where MCU Steve Rogers shows up and says, come through this Steve Strange portal and fight with me. I don't need that. If they did it, that'd be interesting, but I don't need it. I like it in, and I don't mind Marvel properties doing, as you mentioned before, Gage, like having like their own like Midnight Suns, if they ever do that, just let that be his own thing. You know what I mean? Let Moon Knight have his own little world. He doesn't need to, I'm cool with that, right? I think that's actually the smart thing to do with these series, even the live action ones. I don't think they need to connect to the larger MCU so much. I think that was part of the problem with the Marvels, is that a lot of people saw them as like, who's this girl and who's this lady? Like, I don't know them. I know Captain Marvel. I don't know them. And that's
I want them connected. Like I don't necessarily feel like that about the X-Men 97. Like where it is, I'm fine with. Like however connected it is or isn't, like is cool, is wonderful. But like those TV shows, I feel like the promise of those TV shows is that those people exist in the Marvel universe, and the movies need to account for their existence. So
it's hard to have them star in a movie because that was proven. I mean, there were many problems with the Marvels and why it failed, right? But a lot of people, we got to account for, like, we're talking about like low numbers of these series. Like none of them have really hit like that to justify giving this character a starring role in a movie. Now,
maybe not in their own, but I think showing up
showing up in the movie is fine. Showing up in the movie is fine. To be 100% clear, showing up in the movie, Kate Bishop showing up in the movie, fine.
Yeah, like that's what I want.
Oh, I have no problem. I think that's, I'm with you. I guess I wasn't saying that they can't show up in the movie. I'm saying that most of their action should take place in their series. Like there should be season 2 of Miss Marvel. There should be season 2 of Hawkeye. You know what I mean? There should be season 2s of these shows. I think what their original plan was, we're gonna give them like a mini series on I'm about to say HBO Max or Disney Plus, and then launch them into the movies. I don't think they didn't really build these characters up enough and make them popular enough for them to be justified in a starring role. And I think that's partly what happened with the Marvels. I think people really looked at Monica Rambeau and Ms. Marvel and was like, I don't even know what's going on. I didn't watch those shows. I may have watched WandaVision 2 years ago, 3-4 years ago. I definitely didn't watch Ms. Marvel. I have no idea. Who is this? Her family. Okay, that's cute. I don't get it.
Right.
I think it should be the other way around. Like I think like what the idea of doing Captain America, Bucky, like as a TV series, like I think that's a great idea after Endgame. But
Agreed.
to do it the other way, I think is a little tougher. Just because like it's a TV show that not everybody's watching.
Yes.
And then it's elite.
Yep.
I think that for X-Men 97 to exist as a part of the greater MCU, when you do what you did at the end of this episode and they disappear, and now we're in different times, we also need to be maybe showing up somewhere else multiversal so that you then tie it all together. Like I feel like that's a string that maybe we missed a piece of it or whatever. Maybe I missed it. Maybe the Watcher was there when that happened and I ain't catch it. You know what I'm saying? In the sky.
Maybe. I don't know where Wolverine is.
You know what I'm saying? Agreed.
The Beast did mention the multiverse. And also, I don't know if y'all peeped this, and I might be reaching when they're in Egypt. Is that not Rama Tut's little lair back there?
Yeah, I mean, I think I do believe that has some Kang.
Yeah,
there's definitely some Kang possible tie-in in there with the whole Abed sword thing. That's definitely a possibility. Look, even if it is, we're not seeing that until easily the end of 2025.
Facts.
That's where I'm at.
Yeah,
maybe the beginning, but I doubt it. That's how I feel. Like I have to put my mind in that place where like whatever we're going to get that is going to tell us what's happening next in this show isn't coming until the end of next year.
Yeah.
At the earliest. That's where my mind has to go. Right now, Does that mean it because I have
like
no idea what happened?
Kind of thing.
Say that again. Like a Christmas
kind of thing.
Possibly. I think that fall of 2025 puts us about where we would need to be for all of the production stuff and whatever kind of marketing push we might need to have to try to get behind having a second season that is technically like a seventh season, you know what I'm saying, of a show get done, get marketed, and get put in front of people. And I think that the way that streaming is changing, when you have Disney Plus and Hulu now being like, oh, we doing a bundle with Disney, Hulu, and Max.
Yeah.
Like, I just think that the landscape is changing so fast. That's what's happening.
What?
I got announced this week. Yes.
Yeah,
Disney Plus, Hulu, and Max.
So
yeah, I know.
I just got that. I just got it. I don't even think that I really understood, because I just got me and Penny just got iPhones. We switched over, read this whole thing. But they was like, yeah, you can bundle this and this and this. And I was like, what? Max?
Yeah.
Ain't they arch enemies? They arch enemies, right?
You would think, but like Comcast just announced a bundle that they're offering with streaming services tied to it. Like, it's just, again, the way that landscape is changing. When you see, again, they were all talking about getting in together to do sports packages, like all of it, and they were like, FCC was like, we might have to chop all this up. Like, it's just that's the place where we're in. And so how that kind of stuff will affect, again, for me, I'm like, to be continued. That's the end of next year. That's how I feel about it, because of just what the landscape is. And we're talking about streaming. We're not talking about standard TV and being like, oh, well, that's next season. And I know next season is coming. Like, for a show to end its season right now, traditionally, we would know the next season is happening in like September, October. You know what I'm saying? And then we're getting our next. It's not what this is. So because of that, yes, we have no idea I don't know what happened to Wolverine when all of that disappearing happened. So maybe he's with Deadpool, and we getting ready to find that out, and it's coming in a couple of weeks. For all we know.
True.
And if that happens, listen, and let me tell you something. If I'm sitting in the theater, dog, if I'm in the theater, bro, and that happens, I'm gonna lose it. I'm gonna lose it. And I know there's gonna be so many people sitting in that theater because they just love Deadpool 1 and 2, and they love the old, and they're gonna have no idea. They're not gonna have no idea. And if that happens, this show is going to blow up. The numbers on the viewership of this show will skyrocket if they do that.
That's not
like that. Period. That's something that they, like, timeline wise, like, that's something that could have been worked out.
100%.
Yeah, like that. They definitely could have worked that out.
They are clearly in the multiverse. They're clearly dealing with the Fox stuff. They're clearly crossing over because this is the first Disney production joint. So, like, all those things are definitely something that they could have made.
So you saying the Logan that's in, like, the main, like the Logan we're seeing in the trailer is the Logan from you?
No.
You're not saying
he's not.
No, I know you're not saying.
No.
You said if that Logan is the Logan from the animated series. That's the Logan.
No. I'm saying that my expectation is that there's more than one Logan in this.
I see what you're saying. I got you.
That we are dealing with the multiverse, and we are going to see Logans that come from.
Yes, I'm with you.
I think we're going to see an old man Logan. I think we're going to get Logan. I think we're going to get.
I mean, Patch is definitely in the joint. Like, I thought you would. I heard you wrong. I thought you saying. I'm about to say, but he has his claws. I was about to. But I'm with you. If that dude,
but also
all beat up with Morph. That would be the coolest thing ever. Yeah.
Marvel,
if they did that, that's
for
exactly
faking trailers.
Yeah,
that would be so dope. You know what I mean? If
If
they did that, and it turned out that the Wolverine you were seeing in the trailers was Morph, pretending to be Wolverine with claws. You want to talk about losing it, bro? Like, I would lose it in the theater, bro. Look, we're gonna wrap this up. Episode 10, Jerry, I didn't get you weren't here when we went around and gave our scores beforehand. So we'll just get what your score for episode 10 is. And I'm gonna let you go first for that, so you don't have to hear us like talk about where we were. I'm gonna let you go first.
Oh,
what's your score for episode 10?
Thank you. I think I'm gonna go ahead and stick with my traditional 9.5.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm with it.
Yeah, I think it did it for me. I think the thing for me that was like the check mark on it was at the end when the team that's with Rogue shows up and Magneto is there and all of that. They're a unit again, and it didn't make me feel like, wait a minute. You just try to kill him like 10 minutes ago. I swear, 10 minutes ago.
I kind of felt that way, but I'm good. I'm glad you didn't feel that. I talked about that a little bit earlier. I like, it happened real fast.
But it made it was like the way like the drama of the situation like overcame everything. You know what I mean? And I was just like, all right. You know, Magneto already switched sides again. He was already like, oh, I'm just gonna stop, you know.
I mean, he already kind of didn't have a choice. That's where I was at on that. But like, that's how it's supposed to be. Sin, you've been real quiet this episode, bro. So like,
I've been having a lot of technical issues on this end, so I couldn't tell what was going on. But I'm actually at an 8 now instead of a 9. Just some of the issues we discussed, like just the pacing and rushing of certain things and Phoenix randomness and just stuff like that. Just as it was all coming back to me, I'm like, yeah, it was a little issues and jankiness with the finale. So I'm at 8 with the episode 10.
Adam,
I'm still at a 9. Like I said, my only issue was the Phoenix, but I had a lot of fun. Like I said, when I come into final episodes of a season or series, I know that that's a difficult thing to land. Penultimate's always way better. So when it comes to a final episode and setting up what's coming and just giving me payoff for what happened, I enjoyed the hell out of it, man. I had a lot of fun. So I'm gonna give it a 9 just because, again, I had a lot of fun with this episode.
I dig it. I am still at an 8. I didn't drop.
I was curious.
You know what I mean? Could have just hit that 7.5. Nah, I'm at an 8. You know what I mean? Again, overall, I'm very satisfied with where the episode ended up being. Now I need to get some scores for the season. Thanks, Sam. Is that you all right? Like,
no, I know what mine is for the season. Yeah.
All right, Sam. What is your score for X-Men 97 for the season?
It's a 9.
Okay.
It's a 9 for the entire season. Yes.
Okay. Jerry?
I'm giving it a 10. This thing is must watch. I mean, again, I'm biased, but like this thing, like what else do you want in your entertainment?
I mean,
maybe not a Porsche scene.
Porsche.
He asked what we don't want. He asked what we want.
Not the Porsche again.
Adam,
give me the 10. And it's because, again,
and I know you don't give out a lot of 10s.
I don't. But I again, this is the best. I love the X-Men. I've been fans of some of the X-Men movies more than others. But this is the best X-Men I've seen in my adult life. And that means something. So plot hole here, plot hole there, plot armor here, plot armor there. The feeling the show gave me, the excitement, the damn near wanting to stay up to 3. I never did, but wanting to stay up to 3 to watch it. Watching
that's that new daddy again thing.
Yeah, I could not pull it off. But let me tell you what I was doing. Literally at work on my phone. Like the other day I watched it. We had a big we do these conferences at work or whatever, right? I'm in the Uber on my way there, 6:00 in the morning, watching X-Men 97 on my phone. Like wow, you know what I mean? So no, the feeling, the excitement, the entertainment, the emotional beats, all of that. And then again, that episode, it's a 10. It's a 10 for me.
I dig it. Have you seen Wolverine and the X-Men?
Yes.
Okay.
Not in a very long time, but I have. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a good show. No,
That's
I
the
agree with
one
you.
where
It's a good show.
Cyclops wearing like a trench coat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He like
I've seen it. I
very
remember.
he's a very angry guy.
Yeah, it's the one
He's
he's
a
trying to get the X-Men back
very
together,
angry
whatever,
guy.
I remember enjoying it. But it's been years.
Yeah, you need to. I would highly recommend a
Then
revisit.
that one, I'd see where you're going. That one was really good. But again, it's the whole what the X-Men have been through my adult life as here's a focus on a character, and then here's a few other characters, and maybe it has not been the X-Men in the
Right. It's a
mutants.
Wolverine show. It's called Wolverine and the
Right.
X-Men, like 100%.
Right.
Like I'm not
Right. And that's kind of what we got into. Even with Deadpool and Wolverine, there's going to be a Wolverine and Deadpool focused film with the other X-Men being kind of like cameos, maybe.
I'm just glad I saw
There was no
Shatterstar.
star of the show. There were the X-Men were the mutants were the star of the show, and that's I haven't seen that in a long time, so that's why it's a tip.
Look, I think that I'm sitting at like an 8.5 for this season as a whole. I grade pretty hard. That's just who I am. I grade pretty hard.
You should.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
I consume a large amount of this kind of content.
Yeah.
And as weird as it might be to say this and feel like I'm like not grading it as high as people might think, the show is exactly where I expected it to be. I would have considered the original run of the show like an 8.5. And this to me falls right in line. So for some people that might be like, well, then it's a 10 because it's perfect, because it falls right in line, whatever. For me, an 8.5 is like, yep, there's still some things that I feel like could have been done a little bit better. I actually will hold it against them that they didn't give me 26 episodes, right? It's not their fault, right? But like, you got to grade it on what it is. But I do think that, again, it just kind of forced them to have to do storytelling in a much shortened way compared to what we've traditionally gotten. And I do actually think that hurts it. I think that there are plot lines and things that should have just like need a little more massaging. You know what I'm saying? Again, like just Storm losing her powers and kind of her role with Forge and like them falling in love in like 30 minutes. You know what I'm saying? Was kind of like, how long she been in that house with him? What is going on? How long was that demon around? What happened? And we just kind of cut it short. And it's like, well, let's put Jubilee in a video game on her birthday. And like, you know what I mean? It just felt like those really should have been individual episodes unto themselves. And they were, they kind of got cut. So I do think that, like, unfortunately, it felt it feels like there are portions of this where it wasn't written for 10 episodes. It was written like it should have been 15 or 16, maybe even 26. And that we ended up having to kind of cut and condense and put things in. And so we didn't quite get some of that stuff fleshed out the way I feel like it would have. And I felt like the impact would have been greater had we been able to do that, had we done it that way. So I'm not necessarily dinging it because it didn't have 26 episodes. I'm dinging it because I feel like it wasn't quite written to fit for all of the. There's so much story in this joint, so much going on. You are actually doing what you said, Adam, giving you the X-Men. But in a lot of ways, you still left out Wolverine, right? And you still left out Morph. And you still, so like, while, yep, you got to focus on a lot of people, and you did get like, there's still people that are kind of left on the sidelines. And it's like something major happens to Wolverine at the very end. We won't know what's going on with that until, you know what I'm saying, down the road. Again, maybe we get a little sneak or something, but like, you do have characters that are kind of left. Even when you lose a character, you lose a Gambit, you introduce a Nightcrawler, but you still haven't really given us anything about this one character in like a joint for more. If you got an episode that's dedicated to a Madeline Pryor who isn't even really one of them kind of thing, like it's just like there are some of those things that I just feel like would have been much better served if they were written longer, or if we hadn't maybe tried to shoehorn. I do feel like some of those stories were shoehorned in so that it felt like we were getting stories about everybody because we didn't really flesh all of that out. And that's what I think, Scott just being like, I love you, son. Like, I just met you this morning. I just met you this morning. I don't know you, dog. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just like so yeah. 8.5, I think is great considering.
But he does know him. Didn't you see the post?
So you can't just say that with a straight face.
You couldn't even say it.
You tried though. Kudos.
Look in my eyes. I have the same eyes as you, and I'm looking at that joint. I'm like, these mama's eyeballs don't look nothing alike, though. I don't know what you talking about, Scott. You might not be his daddy. Y'all don't look nothing alike.
That part almost made my wife cry.
Yeah, listen.
It was solid storytelling. That was a moment right there.
I just had to throw that on you because you was going on the part so bad. Feel bad, damn it.
Maybe he look like Corsair, dog. I don't know. Maybe he got them eyeballs. I don't know, dog. You know what I'm saying? Maybe he looked like Havoc, bro. I don't know, dog.
Oh man,
I'm not sure.
I mean, Madeline Havoc.
It's a thing.
See.
There's a thing there. I want to tell y'all that I greatly appreciate both you, Jerry, and you, Adam, hanging out with us to do this. We're definitely gonna have to do this again. We're not just for X-Men stuff. We're gonna have to bring some. We might have to have y'all on because we got to do a Deadpool Wolverine joint for sure.
Let's do it. Let's do that.
You know what I mean? I think it's only appropriate now because we might have to ding we might have to ding Wolverine and Deadpool for not having any ties to this show.
Having Wolverine in there.
True.
Like we might have to be like.
By the way, Morph told that man he loved him.
Morph
told that man, and Bodemayo confirmed.
That was great.
Yeah,
I'm with it. I got no beef with that.
My man was
definitely trying to.
Did you see what was that? It was episode 2. Stuff be getting cut. But yeah,
he definitely was trying.
I don't know. I don't feel like it was. It wasn't too subtle.
It wasn't too subtle at all. It was.
Yeah.
Perfectly unsubtle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He calling out for Gene, but dude was like, "Oh yeah, that's fine, but don't." I'm here.
I can look like Gene if you really want to. Yeah. Listen, Jerry, tell folks where they can find you.
You can find me on Instagram at the Franchize Art. Google me, Jerry Gaylord. I'll be around. I'm out there on the internet.
Definitely partying with Bo DeMaio and folks. You know what I'm saying, at the premiere, taking pictures, Cyclops cosplayers and stuff. But I got to get you. Some new friends, dog. I got to. You know what I'm saying? Like I got to. I mean, not that I don't want to be introduced to people in your circle, but I feel like I got to introduce you to some other people in my circle. Maybe you know what I mean? Like,
man, it's the X-Men circle. I mean,
I'm with you. I just need you to be with some Peter Parkers or something, dog. We gotta figure something out. Adam. Adam, bro, tell people where they can find you.
At the X-Men parties.
Yo, MSR_Adam on social. Check me out on YouTube. New episode of What Are Those coming out this week, and we'll have Sneaks in the City coming out in a few weeks as well. So follow me.
Dope. Look, y'all know where to find us. Just at Loading Snacks, type Loading Snacks in. You're gonna find us. Now, I will tell you, here's a warning. If you type in Loading Snacks, you're gonna get Google like hits for like snacks, bro. Like they're gonna try to feed y'all. But I'm just like, I just want you to know, like they're gonna try to feed y'all. But if you scroll enough, like you're gonna find us. Like we're there. Again, I want to thank you two gentlemen for hanging out with us and doing it. It's been fantastic having y'all on to discuss it with all of the love that you have for the franchise as a whole, Adam, with your knowledge and love that you have for Cyclops, Jerry, and you know what I'm saying, and your insider knowledge, you know what I mean. It's been great to have y'all. So until it's time for us to hit back up for Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yep.
We're out. Tools and lose.
Loading snacks.